Hello and welcome to the Bits and Pieces podcast. This podcast is, of course, known for long, flowing introductions and often little else other than rants, dad jokes, and references to past episodes. But attempting a long winded introduction to today's episode would be a bit like, I don't know, Vikram Rathore and Nayan Mongia being sent out as openers to see off the new ball before Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid come out to bat. And one thing we know about Rathore and Mongia as openers is that they mostly got out early, and when they didn't, it would just irritate the fans anyway, since they'd just be delaying the arrival of the gods. So today, I don't want to be a Mongia Rathore, and I'm going to quickly get out of the way since we have actual cricketing royalty with us. If you need an introduction to Sharda Ugra, then, dear listener, what are these strange choices you've made in your life that have got you to land up on the Bits and Pieces podcast without having read her completely unprecedented, incredible body of work spanning over 30 years of sports journalism? Sharda, welcome to Bits and Pieces. It's an absolute privilege to have you here.
Hi, Nitin. Hi. Hello, everyone on the podcast and all the listeners. And what is this introduction you have given me? I started laughing at Mongia Rathore only because I remember those things well. Oh God, yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sharda. Yeah, indeed. So we wanted to get a panel that could, match up to Sharda's brilliance. Of course, that was always going to be difficult, but we did the best we could, right? Sharda's, of course, written so much on sport, on cricket. And so we got one of the best writers, probably the best writer that we have on our group within Bits and Pieces. And that would be Prashant, who has also played cricket up to Division 3 level in Tamil Nadu. Prashant DP, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, hi Nitin. That's way too kind and not even true, by the way. There are a lot of great writers. There are a lot of great writers on our group, but it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm absolute honored to be talking to Sharda.
Indeed, welcome to the pod, Prashant. And we also have Vipul, also known as Sporty Baba on Twitter. And like I was saying for Prashant as well, we wanted to get someone who could match up to Sharda's body of work. Sharda has covered a lot of sports in lots of different corners of the country, and Vipul is a bit like that. His claim to fame is that he has been to every possible stadium in every corner of the country, following every possible sport. You may not have heard of half the sports he has watched live, but that's not his biggest claim to fame. That would be the fact that he has actually managed to procure tickets for the World Cup. After having spent about 20 hours on Book My Show refreshing it a lot, and he's come here to unwind and gloat about the tickets that he's procured. How are you doing, Vipul?
I'm doing good, man. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. 20 hours is a lot. Like, I think that is the amount of time I've spent in last entire decade watching all the sports.
Amazing.
trying to book the tickets, yeah. So it hasn't been this bad.
No, there is this, there's a psychological concept where they say when it comes to experiences, right, it's not so much the experience itself, because those seldom live up to the expectation, but it's the anticipation of the experience. So in that sense, you've actually, got a very, very extended anticipation to watching some games live at this World Cup. So good for you, as opposed to the cynics on this group who have given up long back on even trying to, get tickets to the World Cup. So good on you. Good that you're here in good spirits. Yeah. Let's get down to business then, since we have Sharda and we have the BCCI performing one of, there are many comedy acts. I think this one probably takes the cake, the way they've organized this World Cup. There is one version of this podcast, which is just the audiobook of Sharda narrating / reading out her wonderful magnum opus piece on the Caravan titled Shah's Playground, the BJP's control of cricket in India. It is 13,072 words long. That is a massive number.
Sorry, I apologize for 13,000 words. Sorry. Already apologize to this young generation. Yeah.
Sharda taking side swipes at the TikTok generation. That some of us are quite old, Sharda. We still read. So yeah, this is not that podcast, right? Now, 13,072 words. That, of course, is a massive number, but it's not half as massive as the BCCI's net worth, which stands at a whopping, eye-watering 23,159 crores. So Sharda, please tell us, you've been covering cricket through this journey that the BCCI and Indian cricket have gone through, where their coffers have just swelled bigger and bigger all the time. And the way cricket is run in this country and globally is, of course, dictated largely by the BCCI. How have you seen things change? And let's obviously zoom in a little bit into the into the context of the amateur sorry, let me say that again, into the context of the Jesha era itself. Obviously, lots of giant leaps have been made since 2008, since the IPL came on board. But what really have you seen change other than, incompetence in this period?
I think the ticketing has remained, uniformly and across decades. It's remained traumatic for all spectators and all ages. You're talking from 1990s to now. Online, not online, doesn't matter. Digital India, non-digital India, doesn't matter. Ticketing has remained absolutely traumatic for spectators. I think the spectator experience has remained very bad. I called it the worst in the world, because I was trying to think of where have I seen cricket where you watch this kind of treatment of spectators, and I don't. And I mean, you're thinking someone saying no, maybe Pakistan, maybe Bangladesh, but with the kind of resources that Indian cricket has, that has it has not improved. The only time it improves is during IPL, as in relatively improves. That people are able to get in. I mean, I've been to an IPL game in Bangalore, and it was quite sort of surreal as to how you were sort of doing the whole business of trying to get in and everything. And this is like on a normal ticket. Why I went to IPL on a normal ticket, don't ask. But so the IPL has made some sort of changes in terms of what spectators get as an experience in Indian cricket. But the big change that has happened as the money has come in, particularly in this last, like I said, 15 years of the IPL, is that India's sort of approach to how it looks at itself. And I know this is a bit serious for what is a casual. We've suddenly become the dadas of the, and we are proud to be the dadas of the gully. And there was a point at which when Jagu Dalmia was there, who was the dada himself, but he was a dada trying to fight his corner in that time and getting the Asians and getting Bangladesh and getting Pakistan on his side and Sri Lanka and everything. But now we are the dadas, and it's like we're the dadas with the big guys. So like it just looks unseemly, it looks bad. And when you hear like this, that giant piece that I wrote, I'm looking at it and saying, where is all this money going? Why is it not going to the smallest, down to the absolutely the smallest level that it should? I mean, I found out about domestic player salaries, which was just idiotic. So you've seen those things, but because of social media and all the other things, the celebration of this money becomes like a triumph of some individual genius. It doesn't take a genius to make money for BCCI. You put me in the BCCI chair as accountant, whatever it is, I will also make money. I'll stamp and put my name on it. It's not a problem. I struggle to read a balance sheet, but it doesn't matter. It's cricket, Indian cricket, money will come. So it's that sort of approach that is there, and they're trying to make it better, and they're trying to do the PR. They're trying to do, what was it? There's some great line in a few episodes ago in the podcast about some PR. PR kiya to darna kya. That was the one that I got listening to all of things. I fell down laughing.
Hang on. One sec. So Sharda Ugra listens to the Bits and Pieces podcast. You just made.
We should just retire rather.
I think that should be a Twitter bio. Yeah.
But PR kiya to darna kya is literally, that is like, I mean, it's a line I want to steal and use in a copy. Yes. It is so good. Because all that's happening in whatever now you're seeing that. So I spoke to somebody some time ago about generally this thing or whatever. I know I'm being vague because I don't want to get myself into trouble. Nitin knows, having been my colleague at times, that I sort of shoot off the mouth, shoot off the hip, whatever. And they said that, no, we have started this captains and whatever selector giving a press conference. You're not doing us a favor. It is not to do it. It is part of your remit. Please, it had stopped, which was wrong. You have started it again. Thank you very much, but it's not a favor to anybody. The nation actually wants to know these things. The nation wants.
Yes. Actually,
so, it's that kind of nonsense that is going on, and I think it's just all sort of varnishing that's being done, using the money to varnish a whole lot of other flaws and gaps and things that are there. And it's almost funny, and you say, like, why are you writing the story for us? Why are you doing it every day? Achha, this 4 lakh tickets, I want to know, has anyone got 4 lakh tickets? Anyone got those 4 lakh tickets that came suddenly? Has anyone got anything out of it?
Yeah. Vipul did, right? So
Yeah,
Vipul can talk
But
about
Vipul
this.
did after 20 hours.
No, but
Vipul-
that includes, he was trying
That-
before the 4
so-
lakhs also.
Ah,
So actually, Vipul,
so-
why don't you narrate your
this was the
entire...
4 lakh tickets or the other ones before this?
Oh, so it's actually it's a unfortunate festival that I'm a part of. It also reminds me of like once I was talking to this female friend of mine who had fallen for a fuck boy, and she knew that nothing's gonna change, but she just got into it. And I think that is my experience with going to an Indian cricket stadium. So
We have a toxic relationship which we are not able to get out of.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
I think-
Stockholm syndrome type thing. It is,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, totally.
That's exactly what it is.
So firstly, it was supposed to be non-India matches that would come out, and then India matches. But India matches are like, okay, on 31st August, it will be Chennai and 2 other venues. On 1st, it will be Mumbai, Dharamshala. Then on 2nd, it will be Kolkata and Bangalore. And 3rd, it will be mother of all matches in Ahmedabad. So, and 3 days before the tickets were about to go on sale, we were told that, okay, MasterCard, people who have MasterCards will have early access to it. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which, by the way, did not. So, Sharda, since you listen to our podcast, you might appreciate the title of our episode 2 weeks back was There are some things that MasterCard cannot buy.
Cannot buy, exactly. Which is an Indian
Yeah.
cricket ticket. I think that should actually be put on some hoarding.
Yeah. So, this is a total of 8 days where you spent like 2 hours trying to book tickets. And I'm a part of the North Stand gang, which has some 50 odd people.
Right.
So someone will get a ticket. You will know someone who's got an extra ticket. But like just to give you the reality, there is England, South Africa, Bangladesh, South Africa, and there is Australia, Afghanistan, and Mumbai. And the North Stand tickets for level 3 have not been out. If a lot of detective Twitter tech plus cricket Twitter detective work got us to know that in all these lots, only 1,600 Mumbai tickets have been released, and those tickets like Australia Afghanistan is for 2,500. What are you going to do saving all those tickets? I understand for an India match it will get sold out. Like even in the past for knockout matches, people have paid everyone has paid 30,000 rupees for Vittal Davecha in the 2011 final. Everyone paid a premium for the 2016 World T20 semi-final. But why do you want to make it so difficult for a fan trying to watch South Africa versus England? And similarly for Australia-Afghanistan, if Australia-Afghanistan would have had a flat price of 500, 750,000, Afghanistan would have played a World Cup match in one of the greatest venues in the world in front of sellout crowd. Yes, but now you're making it sure that not more than 2,000 people will come for the match. So yeah, that's the experience.
So this is pre 4 lakhs, right?
Yeah, no, so this includes 4 lakhs. So even
this includes the 4 lakhs experience.
This includes the 4 lakhs experience. Sorry. And even in the experience, yesterday was the 4 lakh experience. I was trying to book for 4 people on the pod. I was trying to book South Africa versus England. I was in a queue for 20 minutes. It showed 90 minutes and suddenly it opened up. And I could only have access to Vittal Davecha level 3, not even a single North Stand ticket. And I got India, Australia. But then again, I was very, very lucky. Because only 1,000 tickets for Chinnaswamy were out. So I think the outrage started on the day on 3rd when people couldn't get the India-Pakistan tickets because that is what everyone wanted. So what happened yesterday was BCCI made it sure that a lot of India-Pakistan tickets would be on sale and a lot of people eventually got that. But in Chinnaswamy, it would be 1,000. In Wankhede, there were just 400. So I'm not entirely sure, like 1,500 out of a 33,000 capacity stadium in Mumbai is very, very unfortunate. You don't do that.
It's rubbish.
And it's also the subterfuge that's at play, right? So one thing like Vipul mentioned, it's unclear how many tickets are being released in each round for each venue. So you're just going in blind there and hoping that you'll hit it. The second thing you mentioned is, there's a 90-minute what is supposed to be a countdown clock, but it doesn't count down. So it's stuck at 90 minutes and you need to keep staring at that screen without blinking because suddenly it'll go from 90 to 0 and it'll open, right? I remember booking tickets for the 2019 World Cup, which happened in England. Similarly, you had a 65, 70-minute countdown, but it actually counted down. So you knew that you keep that tab open, you come back in 45 minutes or whatever, and you make your booking, right? And I could do it while I was sitting at work. And it worked quite seamlessly. But there are also other techies who have managed to go into the source code of the Book My Show pages. And they've noticed that there's all kinds of gray stuff happening below the hood, under the hood, right? Where there is something that says, you actually deliberately fake that tickets have been sold out. You fake block tickets. you create an artificial queue, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And the last thing, usually the tickets for lots of the cricket in India have been going to a different company, right? They've been going to Paytm Insider. We also heard that apparently there was an insistence from certain very powerful people in the country who have invested in Book My Show that the World Cup tickets would have to go on BMS only and not on Paytm Insider.
Because I have to write about this ticketing business. So and Karthik, who I met recently, he's part of a group of 80 people who are trying to book tickets, and it's like this, it's almost like social.
And this Karthik, Hamara Karthik Krishnaswamy that you're talking about.
No. This is another Karthik. He used to be, he was on the cricket jockey or something like that. Remember what is his name? The guy.
Karthik Kannan, Hamara.
Yes,
got it.
Yes,
So could you just repeat from there? Yeah.
Yeah. I just I bumped into Karthik recently, Karthik Kannan, whom Nitin also knows. And he's part of a group of 80 people that were trying to get tickets. So there are all these like vigilante groups all over the internet trying to forge tickets everywhere of this World Cup. It's so unnecessary. Put it in lottery, just do it in a way that's fine. And I know that people keep saying that I'm on the side of the enemy and I am sold up to foreign media, whatever it is. Pakistan actually has a head of ticketing. There's a post there called head of ticketing. And we don't have that in BCCI. Because of course, ticketing is like one free for all, So, and I will follow up on this Book My Show thing with you at one point. You remember?
Not that I know much. I just heard about this. It's not confirmed. It's anecdotal, but on bits and pieces we say anecdotal shit. No, so since you mentioned the PCB and their ticketing officer, right? This is something that I mentioned on our group where we chat a lot also. The PCB is actually a board that is modernizing at a rate much faster than the BCCI is. There are lots of youngsters who are involved in things like cricket analytics, right? So Rehan ul Haq, for instance, or Shoaib Naveed, Karachi Katmal, Amir Naqvi has worked with the BCCI, with the PCB. The BCCI actually famously doesn't seem to be employing, youngsters in many of these roles, and it still is, the VVS Lakshmans who sort of are doing. I don't know what they're doing anyway, but that's an aside. I want to bring Prashant also in. I think Prashant, a bit like me, has been scarred in the last few years, seeing how the BCCI has been running Indian cricket. And I think he had some very strong feelings after reading your piece. So Prashant, why don't you share those with Sharda?
No, so I mean, it is, it's a brilliant article for anyone who hasn't read it. Please do read it. But it's also a very.
But like sadly, like BCCI tickets, it is also behind the paywall. And in India, of course, in India, unfortunately, we don't pay for things. So yeah, we hope people do. Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying that it was it's a stellar piece, but it's also profoundly depressing because you are made aware of the fact that you are being taken advantage of, that your love is feeding a monster. Your love for a game is feeding a monster. And everything that you love about cricket is actually just window dressing to lure you in, right? But the people who are running the game, for them, cricket is actually only incidental. Like what happens on the field is actually incidental because they know you'll watch anyway. So it is actually profoundly depressing. Like I told Nitin this before. I read this piece twice actually, and if I read it a third time, I'm almost sure I will stop watching India play. I mean, it is that depressing.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. See, okay.
So, no. So, Sharda, my question to you actually is, how do you bounce back from writing a piece like this and then writing a 2,000-word piece on a Kohli cover drive the next day?
No, see, the thing is that I was asked to do this piece by Caravan, and I said, yeah, I would. And imagine in this 13,000, I have not even written about ticketing. Right, so ticketing was an element of that when we started, and it doesn't seem like a popularish kind of an element. If you're comparing it to, I mean, how many words can I possibly write? More. I mean, ticketing you can write. Ticketing means like 20,000 word thesis straight away. So what you do is that your love for that game is not false. Your love for what happens when you see Kohli hit a cover drive the way you want, or when you see Bumrah bowl the way you want, or whatever. That doesn't change. So that's what you stick to. And my thing as a reporter was just to write that piece and to put, I mean, I know nothing is going to change fundamentally. It's just to put it down for the record. In many years in the future, people want to know what it is. It's all there. The numbers are there.
Yeah.
Stats are there. The facts are there. So not to sort of, it was just that was the purpose of putting it out. And I was writing it not with depression as much with anger. I function a lot on rage and gusta, and how dare you, that kind of thing. That becomes my this thing response, particularly when it comes to payments to players. And I mean, I was talking to my friend Clayton yesterday about Pilu reporter who passed away, and he was telling us stories. I mean, why do umpires have to ask for an increase in their in their pension as it is? There should be a 10% increase in pension for everybody.
Yeah.
Look at the money that you've got. I mean, it is just mad. Every year, this and that 1 year, they have their FD deposits are some 288 crores. They get interest.
Yeah.
So why should everyone ask? Every year there should be an increase in payments, in payouts to Malis and to whatever. It should be natural. It's there. So, but the people that are running the game at the moment now, it is just, the sad thing of it is, I suspect, I fear it's going to morph into something quite ugly. Maybe we'll see during the World Cup. Maybe we won't. I had gone to Kandy for that game, and
so which, the Asia Cup game?
Yeah, the legendary Asia
Yeah.
Cup game, which rained off. Half of it was rained off. And there you heard people chanting Jai Shri Ram.
Yes.
There was a little bit of chanting of that. And then they played Ram Siya Ram on the PA system as the Adipurush, this thing. The Adipurush, there's chorus apparently, it's there in one song. And you're saying that, and there were fans there in that group, surrounded by fans other than me, surrounded by Pakistani fans. And they said, what is this rubbish? Why are they playing this? What is the meaning of this? And but that's another sub story of how the PAs, the ACC guys who are answerable to who was dictating to the DJ that you play these things. This is what you play. And the Pakistanis say, hello, where are our songs? All that kind of thing. It's like, what? Yeah, so that was going on. So that is what I sort of worry about. I just hope fans, it was good fun that whenever there was any chanting of this Jai Shri Ram type of chanting was there were other fans that were just shouting louder, all the familiar chants, Jeetega, India Jeetega, or the other sort of normal chanting that they have. I was trying to remember what is it? The normal sort of
Jitendra by Jitendra.
Yeah. Jitendra by Jitendra. Yeah. So that was also going on, which was fine. And so you hope that it's the goodwill of the fans that will keep the game as and I think the fans will have to fight for it. I know I'm making grand pronouncements, but
yeah,
we'll have to fight to keep their love of the sport and keep the sport what it means to them. I mean, what is this? They'll change the name to Bharat. KL Rahul is going to go to Bharat. He's going to report to Team Bharat. What is this? Yeah, come on.
That point you make. That point you make is very valid. That the fan has to fight back. But this whole ticketing experience has sort of ensured that the regular fan is not going to get into the stadium, right? And we have not even, by the way, started talking about overseas fans. This is a World Cup. Typically, in a World Cup, you want people from all over the world to come. There's no way the regular fans from any other country are going to plan. They can't make a plan because I think it takes longer to get an Indian visa than the 20 days that are left for the World Cup. And tickets are just going on sale now.
And you have just announced the dates when 100 days to go. I mean, what are you running? Somebody said that, are you running that college university people run their festivals much in a more organized manner than how BCCI has run this,
Yeah,
it's been really shoddy.
So there are going to be no overseas fans. Indian fans, the regular Indian fans, how are they going to come? Like nobody. I mean,
last minute, tickets, like Indian wedding type, they'll do.
Local flights to Ahmedabad are, exorbitant. Forget international flights, and room rents have already gone like out of whack completely. Right?
The hospital story, na? The hospital story, everybody knows. Yeah.
It is a new spin on hospitality tickets.
On medical tourism. Yeah.
Medical tourism. Yeah. So what you might end up having at the end of all of this is a lot of neutral games where nobody is going to show up because you're going to hand out all these tickets as, I don't know, freebies to your clubs and everyone. And, they might show up on the grey market, black market later. And some fans might purchase those, or they won't even do that, right? Then the games involving weaker teams, are mostly going to run empty. And the worry is what you mentioned, Sharda, that in the bigger games, the games where India are playing, the games where Pakistan is playing, that you have all kinds of weird stuff happening on PAs and, this whole hyper-nationalist wave that's sort of been taking over cricket. And this ties back to the point Prashant was making. How do you maintain your objectivity when you write about cricket, when you also have to cover, all the muck that BCCI is sort of, the administrators are putting the game through? I've personally, as a fan, experienced definitely in the last 10 years or so that the Indian cricket team has become an extension of, India or the people who run India right now. More and more so. And a lot of fans seem to be okay with that also. The whole hyper-nationalism. It also helps that, I remember during my times at Cricinfo, the BCCI used to take a very antagonistic approach towards publications like Cricinfo itself because of objective reportage and all of that, which meant typically it was media access used to be cut off for, most publications that were trying to do a decent job. Now with the proliferation of social media, I think the BCCI has also realized they don't really need traditional media anymore. A lot of what they do is through channels of their own, which are entirely owned and operated and managed by their own, right? So they are controlling the discourse, so to speak. And the fans, the broad opinion in India also seems to be okay with wherever that discourse is heading. That's a big concern for me. And it has taken away the joy for me from watching Indian cricket. And I thought the last person who sort of stood up and maybe fought back a little bit in his own way against it was Virat Kohli when he was the captain. He seemed to be making a statement when he backed, Mohammad Shami when things went. Everyone else seems to just be okay with the way it is running. Probably is an active supporter of the way things are running in Indian cricket now.
I mean, it's. I wonder if it's the average fan. Because the average fan has no power. The average fan has no power. And I think that is, so whether they're supporting this or they don't support this, we don't know. You would want there to be, because
that's the hope.
I think fans are much smarter than we give them credit for. I so many times actually when I write, and I know that people get damn irritated, and I say sort of, this is not the fan view or whatever. And so fans say, what is it? As if we don't have a brain and all that. So they do, they see things and they are able to, actually fans see through bullshit that people give you, that coaches and whatever give you much more than even senior reporters and all of us sometimes do. So I don't think we have seen what has been, what you're saying, Nitin, is quite interesting, quite sad as well, as to whether we are going to see a change in the way cricket is seen and consumed in that sense. So the cricket fan is taken over by this larger group of the consumer that buys into this general jing bang, chalo, I have come for everything is IPL in an Indian jersey. So maybe we'll find out how this has played out in this World Cup. This is we'll see what the last, say, 15 years. I'm saying 15 years because I'm using IPL as a this thing for when everything changed in terms of the money and the power that was available. Before that, the difference between India and the rest of the countries was significant, but it was not, times X as it is now. So let's see how that goes. I think the presence, it's important for the Indian team and for people to emphasize the fact that the Indian team needs to represent all Indians, of all types, as fans, as players, as participants, and all that. And I don't think we'll get that message from the current dispensation. But I think it's the fans that can sort of make the noise and say this. And as they say that in cricket there are only two truths: Bishan Singh Bedi says runs and wickets. So as long as people are getting runs and taking wickets, they'll be able to keep their place. And they'll be able to hold their spot. But yeah, you need people, particularly Kohli, you need people like that, leaders like that, to stand up. I mean, there was, I think during that test match, someone was heckling Shami.
The Ahmedabad test match.
Ahmedabad test match. And, someone had to stand up and say something for him.
Yeah, and Rohit Sharma was right next to Shami. I remember that video, and, there was no reaction. It was obviously audible to everybody in the team as they were going by. And that's where it really struck me that Kohli would not have taken that quietly. It
And
was my sense.
didn't Rohit pick up a fight with somebody at one point in time?
Long
some
back, right?
fan I think in Australia, it was either the
Yeah.
World Cup or something else. Some fan was heckling somebody and whatever. So I think
Yeah.
these guys will have to do it. There's
Yeah.
because things are going to get bad. I think things are going to get slightly fractious. What will you do if at a game in Ahmedabad, one full stand comes just full of some local karyakarta type people into it, and you fill the stand up because you have the tickets, and
Yes.
they start making noise and they start chanting and they do all kinds of other things. What are you going to do? What are commentators going to say? What is going to happen? So I
Yeah,
know
it's
it's
quite.
sort of dramatic and sad and whatever. Prashant, I hope, but still stay faithful. Don't abandon this cause. Yeah. Seriously, but it is something. I mean, the moment I heard that thing, so I was thinking, the moment I heard that stuff that went on in Palakele, and I was thinking, if they'd given me one more week, I would have been able to put that into the story as well. But I didn't. It should already come. Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you was actually the nature of outrage. You touched upon it. You said that fans are actually quite clued in. Why do you think there isn't more outrage about this? I mean, there is massive outrage for match fixing. There was massive outrage for ball tampering. This is a much bigger issue, actually. This is existential for the game itself.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because there is no simple villain, or do you think because the story is a little more complicated? I mean, why aren't more people writing and yelling and shouting about this?
I think that about the fact that there is this sort of the political apolitical view is being pushed on Indian cricket. Is that what you're saying? Or is it about tickets?
No, I'm saying the fact that the game itself is being stifled, right? So by the BCCI, the global game is being stifled.
Yes. Yes.
The fact that
Yes. I mean,
the fact that the growth of the game itself is being held back.
Yes.
That does not seem to be raising beyond a few writers who write about it. It doesn't seem to be a huge concern.
Because I think what happens is that it's that money becomes like this distracting factor. You keep throwing big numbers and you keep saying you're going to have 94 teams in the 94 days of 94 matches in the IPL, and it's going to become bigger and it's going to become bigger, better. And then people they don't really care. So you would say, particularly in India, people stop. I keep saying people, but I think it is. Are editors willing to have writers put a thing out and saying this is outrageous and this is nonsense and it should stop because it's hurting the game and whatever? So if editors allow reporters to write that, or whatever, then it'll get written. And I know that there are people that are upset and that they think that and I understand the advantage of T20 and what it means to the global game and all the rest of it. But there is another side as well that has to be there. The point is there are resources to maintain that balance. But if the resources are only going to put into one thing, and you think that that's the only way, I mean, I've given up completely on the intelligentsia of the game that is there in this country, in India particularly.
Yes.
Because particularly if you're on television doing commentary, basically BCCI are your employers, whether you're contracted to them or not. And so then you can't speak your mind. So forget it, that ship has sailed. But I think you want editors to be able to say this and to write this, and it's quite distressing as to what's happening. The fact that West Indies aren't going to play in this World Cup has depressed a lot of people, but it shows you then what happens if bad administration, what it does to a game. And as Vipul, who's a multi-sport person, will tell you, that bad administration is what holds back Indian athletes in a lot of the things. So it's just that, I mean, you would want there to be a certain independence of thought. But I think everyone, I keep saying this golden ticket, that came up, that the Willy Wonkaization of the Willy Wonkaization of the World Cup. The golden ticket that came up is actually the Indian cricket. If you have the golden ticket of Indian cricket, then you don't want to let it go. And then everything else is immaterial. Then everything else becomes like, sorry, mera golden ticket nahi jana chahiye. My dukaan has to keep going. So that's what's the thing that's there. It's a bit cynical, it's a bit sad, but it is what's there.
So how do you do it, Sharda? So there's a question from Tony Sebastian, who set up Vipul. So he was there at the start of our recording. So Tony's question was exactly this, right? Everyone talks about how it's impossible to write against the current system, right? Without repercussions. So, and his question is just that, how are you doing it? How is Sharda and maybe a very small handful of other journalists in India able to do this?
I mean, we just, like, to some degree, when in Cricket 4 I was able to do, I think much more now that I'm outside of any organization, so that I have no ties to any organization. I have no responsibility to any institution. I can just be, like I say, I'm between Azad Parinda and Pagal Kutta. I can like roam between these two bad entities, and I can say whatever I feel, so that's a big advantage. And because I've, I think, having worked for 20, 30 years and whatever it is, that I'm able to say it without repercussion. Is what someone said, oh, ED will come to you, now you're writing for Caravan. I said, what will ED come and find in my house? There's nothing.
Read books on sports. Really good sports books.
Like, we have tons of books. So that kind of thing. So of course there is a certain, I think maybe we are a lot of journalists of my generation. We are sort of products of a time where we were able to criticize Dalmia and whoever else was there, and Muttaiya and Sharad Pawar also got like full from all of us, and nothing happened, and it was okay, and you could go on the next day and you could have a conversation with them and you could do whatever and all that. And so you do it, you just do the thing that it is. And this whole thing of, we will deny you accreditation. See, I don't want to go to a press box. Everyone say, you will not get accreditation now. I said, I don't want. What will I do if I don't want accreditation?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be able to see a match. Let me see how I can get a ticket. That is another saga. But I don't want to sit in the press box and not work. I don't sit in the press box and not work. So, but I don't want to go. I'm not dependent on the BCCI for anything. That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not dependent on them. So if you make yourself dependent on the BCCI for whatever it is, I mean, I know a lot of young reporters, they're stuck because that's their job. They are on that wretched BCCI beat and they have to bring these stupid quotes and whatever they have to do it. It's fine. But I am now Azad, so I don't have to do it. But to be fair, there was a generation of administrator before that you could have a conversation with, argue with, fight with, and that conversation would go on. And it wasn't like, you're the enemy, that kind of thing. I think that thing changed in the last, say, 10, 12 years or so. That changed completely. And then it's kind of reached this point where now the media is completely distant. And there's no, even with players, there's no interaction. There's nothing of that kind.
Yeah. Maybe to an extent, it is possible now to also be completely independent if you want to be. Of course, if you want the golden ticket, then that's not going to work. But the reality is, there's anyway no access to players, and everything is sanitized anyway, right? If you're a yes man, then everything you say is anyway sanitized. It's not like you can do great independent reportage or very cutting, incisive reportage by being a stooge of the BCCI anymore, because everything goes through them. So you might as well be independent.
Yeah, I think social media has given so many people a chance and an opportunity to be a lot freer and say a lot of things. Your accreditation, if you need accreditation, then it's a bit of a challenge.
Then it's tough.
But if you don't, then it's all right. Then you have just stand in the line for the ticket for 20 hours or whatever it is that you have to.
So maybe this entire ticketing brouhaha is a way to get the media to stand in line, right? Because they tell you, hey, you won't get press access, and there's no other way for you to watch the games because you're not going to give tickets to anybody, so that you guys all start writing good
live. You see,
there's no other way to watch the game. Yeah. So if you want to be in the ground, then you start writing good stuff about us. Yeah, maybe that's what is happening.
Yeah.
You mentioned some old administrators, right? And you know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to read the punchline, the money quote from your piece on the Caravan. This was, of course, said by Kirti Azad, former Indian player and current MP, honestly. I think. Yeah. So
bless him for being so open. Yeah.
Look at Rajiv Shukla. He is a tamatar. Sabzi mein bhi salad mein bhi hai. Sorry, sabzi mein bhi hai, salad mein bhi hai. He's a tomato. He can be found in a vegetable curry. He can also be found in a salad. And I should say salad because that would be the correct pronunciation for
Correct.
this.
Yeah.
I appreciate the man for being a tomato. Now, if you actually look at Rajiv Shukla, right, and he's really the Forrest Gump of Indian cricket, because when Saurav Ganguly removed his T-shirt on the Lord's balcony, in the zoomed out version of
he's
the
there.
picture, there is VVS
He's
Lakshman
there.
and there is Rajiv Shukla.
Yes.
And if you cut to 2023 IPL final, the famous meme of Jesha doing, I don't know what, thumping his chest before the last ball. Again, you see the wider version of that thing. There is, of course, an auntie and somebody who's leaning out and exchanging some sweet nothings with an auntie. But on the other side is Mr.
Right.
Tamatar, Rajiv Shukla himself. And while this whole ticketing brouhaha was going on, and it looked like nobody is going to get tickets to watch India v Pakistan, who went to Pakistan to represent the Indian delegation in the Asia Cup. Again, Mr. Tamatar, Rajiv Shukla himself. So, is BCCI, and where I'm going with this is BCCI the one place where it doesn't matter which party you're a part of? You could still be across party lines. It is a group that comes together to run and ruin cricket, as it were.
So this was a true. So Rajiv Shukla is now he's like an oddity. He's like an odd man out in this thing, because right now. So previously there used to be this cross party sort of, like I've written in the piece. There's this cross party bonding that used to happen with the intention of protecting the BCCI's interests and whatever its corpus of money would have been at that time, for whatever reason that you were doing that. Now it has changed completely, because it's just become that for the first time, it's a single political party that is controlling the organization from the top to the bottom. And Rajiv Shukla that's why he's the odd man out in it. That's why he's the tomato. He's the one that's still there. And it's so people say it's basically because he has a personality that is like that. He knows, everyone say he knows everybody's secrets. He's I don't know, so it's, and he's known to people at the top of the ruling regime. So it's all those things that are there that have kept him in this place. So Kirti Azar doesn't believe in any of this thing that the government has taken over or the BJP has taken over. Kirti Azar said they're still united in corruption and whatever.
Right.
But to give him credit, I said, "Are you sure I can quote you on this?" He said, "You can quote me on anything that I have just said." So I asked him about the tomato thing. So this thing is that it's basically the control of the money that's there. And if that is the case, I think if people who understand how money trail works and follow the money and everything, they'll figure out how this thing goes. Because so it used to be that they were all, it was like a cross-party thing. There's in Mumbai cricket, I think there's still, it's like 3-4 parties are involved. But I think at the top, it's very much a party controls it, and plus tomato. So it's like that. So
yeah, Vipul, Prashant,
and it's the control of the money, I think, that becomes that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sharda, if it's okay, I'd like to ask you about the other stuff that you've written about and your process as a writer as well. So when you're a writer, you're basically like a junkie for a story, right? I mean, you're looking for an authentic. Hello.
Hey, Sharda, can you hear us? Yeah, I think you're.
Everyone.
We can hear you now. At least I can hear you now.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
your camera is.
Yeah. Just the Prashant's screen is frozen. I don't know whether it's me.
It was for a bit now. Now it's moving.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Prashant. Yeah.
So I was saying that when you're a writer, you're a bit of a junkie for a story, right? So you're looking, when you're talking to somebody, when you're writing a profile about them, you're looking for a moment of authenticity that you can write about. You're trying to kind of get past, you're trying to find something real that you can write about, right? And that's, and when that happens, when you actually get to break down that barrier, that's when you write the really good stuff.
Yeah.
That's when you.
One sec, just hang on 1 sec.
Sure.
Just give me a second.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Can you just go up? Your voice kept getting broken off. So I was just wondering what the issue was. Yeah, tell me.
No. So I was saying that when you break down barriers with the person that you're writing the piece about, you actually get them to open up. That's when you actually access the good stuff. That's when you get a sense of who he really is. And for the duration of which for the duration where you're actually writing that piece, you're obsessed with that person. Like you're trying to think what they felt, or try to imagine what they went through. And then when the piece is done, you're done and you move on. But this is fundamentally asymmetric, right? Because he has opened himself up to you. He's been completely vulnerable with you, and you've captured it, and that lives now for eternity on the internet. And you get to move on, but in a sense, he doesn't. So does that ever bother you? Do you ever feel conflicted or guilted out by that?
Not really. It's interesting how you're saying it. I don't feel conflicted or guilted about it, because I try, particularly at the time when you were talking to people and being able to have conversations with them, which now you can't have anymore. You can't have a serious conversation with anyone without there being some kind of this thing. You try and be truthful to them, and you try and not be hurtful because you think you're lighting a clever line, or you're doing something in that sense that you're trying to I would like, whatever you write about them, ideally, even if it is not as flattering as they would want it to be, if it's accurate and if it's authentic, and if you get that what they're saying, you get that person, you hope that they will accept it for what it is. Like, for example, I wrote a piece on Ravi Shastri very recently as to what he used to be and what he has become. Yeah. And to be fair to him, he actually called me up and he started laughing, and he said, yes, that it was, I mean, I couldn't think of anyone else who would do that, amongst players. And whatever I have to say about Ravi Shastri, whatever that he did call up, and we laughed about it, and he said, this is what it is, and the world is like this, whatever. And I was quite flattered that he had done that, because his friends had told him that you please read that piece, because it is so true and it is absolutely about you. So I it's not that I felt that I had done him some kind of disservice by writing it, but I just thought I had just written something that was truer, and that what people saw, that it was there. But that's a very rare kind of thing that you do now, because you don't get the chance to interact that much. I've recently done a piece on Shefali Verma, for the Voice of Fashion magazine, which will come at some point. So this is my new various avenues that I write in. So to try and to see the kind of person that she is and whatever and all that. So I try not to write anything that is, I'm conscious that what I'm writing at that time, it should stand relevant to that time if it's read 20 years later as well. So life may change between now and the next 10 years. But in this time, this is who she is. And this is what she looked like to me when we interacted and when we met or whatever. And I feel that, in a way, so many times, people are not going to be remembered for their Instagram posts, as people seem to think, because the words are much more powerful when writing about people. And now you're writing about, I haven't read anything about Rohit Sharma that has been memorable, that tells me about why is he the way he is. Yeah. I've never read anything like, because he doesn't allow you to get there. And 20 years from now, we'll have a lot of video of Rohit Sharma, and we'll have
Instagram. Even that we won't, because the BCCI hides everything inside their website, right? It's impossible to even go and find clips now, because it's inside the BCCI.tuvalu website.
Correct. Yeah, that absolutely this. So all that will be left of Rohit Sharma, will be that. I mean, whereas about, I remember going to Hampshire for some match or something in the World Cup, and they had written the words about their top players had been written on the walls over there. Just little phrases and things that you remember. And so the power of words is that, So that was the Mohammad Isar. He came off the wicket like a crack of doom. You'll never forget it, So you never forget it, and we'll never see him, but we know in our head this is what he's like, and that's the power of the word. And I think the word sometimes does a great. I mean, the Tendulkar will go remembered in like millions of words that have been written about him. Millions and millions, because he also left himself accessible to a lot of people. We are able to talk, speak, all these guys. But this current generation, you don't know,
That's a
So yeah, Virat Kohli, they'll say he's great player, fantastic player, superb fitness, great work ethic. But come on, something else.
That's
Something else.
boring. Yeah.
Yeah. We've read that. Something else.
Even that reminds me. Even I think Dhoni probably was the last
Dhoni,
superstar in Indian cricket who probably straddled both of these eras to some extent. I remember the piece that Monga wrote, right, which was the first piece of TCM, the Cricket Monthly, where he did a long form on Monga on Dhoni without having access to Dhoni. So he actually went and spoke to Dhoni's friends and people in the town and all of that. Yeah.
And so then all will be left of Dhoni will be this, all that's left of him is this image of Thala and of whatever. And now you're seeing picture of him with Donald Trump in golf. Like what is, so it's that. So Dhoni is that player. Dhoni is that sort of player who kind of distanced himself and everyone followed behind him. Like Bumrah. I did a profile of Bumrah, 5,000 words, and I couldn't speak to him.
Wow.
I spoke to like hundreds of people. Not 100, but like a good amount. But Nitin, the same thing, that there's a Bumrah profile in TCM.
Yeah. No, I heard you. Yeah.
Yeah, no talking to him.
No access. Yeah.
No access, And you're saying that it's I mean, you're fine not to talk, but just give it a shot and see what it's like. See how you. I mean, look at the words written about Chandapal. Like Rahul Bhattacharya wrote about Chandapal.
Yes.
It's like incandescent. They'll be lit up in your head forever. And you would want someone like Rohit Sharma's mad career to be lit up in your head forever in memorable words. But you never know.
No luck. Yeah. I think PDP had a follow-up question very specific to Yuvraj Singh. So I think in this context. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I absolutely fell in love with Yuvraj Singh after I read your book.
Yay!
Yes.
Not after listening to Gautam Gambhir.
Not after listening to Gautam. But so I'll tell you what I went through as a reader. I read that book. I fell in love with the guy, inspired by his journey, his story. And then like a few months later, he says something casteist and racist and nasty on social media.
Yeah.
And I felt let down. I'm like, come on, man. I fell in love with you over 400 pages. Okay. And I can't even imagine what that must have been like for you.
Yeah. No, I think that is Yuvraj Singh being Yuvraj Singh and not having that sort of filter to know, to be sort of, I mean, he is a pre-social media creature, so he'll just speak the way a lot of Indians speak about each other, to each other, how they give galis to each other, that kind of thing. So I don't think per se he's a communalist or a casteist person, but this thing with language is just casual, it's just
no, but Sharda, the question is not actually about Yuvraj Singh. I mean, frankly, I don't care if he's casteist or not. The question is for you. I mean, when you walked his shoes, when you walked in his shoes, when you've written a book, when you've lived his life, and then when something like this comes up,
then you say, what is this?
Or do you feel like you've got him out of your system? The book is over, chalo, done.
The thing is, when you write a book like that, you're writing, a big lesson that I always had very, very early on, both when I was doing the John Wright book and Yuvraj's book, is that it's not your book, it is their book.
Nice.
So it's not your thing, it's their book, and let them write their book. You are just the medium through which their book is being written. So apna ego ko side mein rakho, apna language and all, you just, you don't have to show off your language, write like they speak, in that sense. So that's why I didn't have that kind of a sort of a reaction other than, UV, what is this? Come on, that's just a personal, that's just a personal response. But in terms of being attached in that sense, no. I mean, I'm quite, when it comes to being ghosted and all that, I'm quite, I was going to say objectionable. I meant objective. Objective. To say that, okay, this is it's their project. I'm a part of that project. Let me just do that project. It's their thing. It's not me. Yeah.
The reverse. Yeah, the reverse is true for Tendulkar. So he read that book and then said, "Ye mera book nahi, ye Boria Majumdar ka book hai."
I think the only thing that book gave away was that Sachin really loves his food. Wherever he went and had some local food. I think that's the only thing. Otherwise, there's cricket for everything.
Seriously,
Yeah.
seriously. Yeah.
So to just go back to my pet topic, which is BCCI conspiracies, etc. So a
Yes.
couple of questions I have, Sharda. So first one is about the new ICC media revenue distribution, right? The new ICC revenue distribution, where BCCI was not happy with the lion's share. They are now taking a dinosaur share of the pie,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
And
man.
the day that announcement was made was actually I think the day before the ICC the IPL final, or the day of the IPL final, when it was raining into the stadium and people were, being made to protect their tickets with the QR codes because they had to use the same tickets to come back in the next day. But my question is more about the ICC pie distribution, right? And this goes back to a question Prashant asked earlier about how BCCI is not even bothered enough about Indian cricket. That's a problem. And the reality is they're the only entity that is even capable of saving world cricket, because all the money, they hold everything, right?
Yes.
Now, but my question is, as the BCCI takes more money out of the ICC pie, and somebody likened that to, the richest person in town is at the head of the queue at the soup kitchen. That's literally what the BCCI is doing. But what I've also heard, what I've wondered often is, in the earlier dispensation, SLC or the WICB or PCB all used to get somewhere between 20 and $30 million a year from the ICC, no questions asked. Where is all that money gone? Right? I know 20 million pales in comparison to whatever the BCCI is taking out. For a country of Sri Lanka's size, their cricket is clearly in the doldrums, right? Despite the fact that there's so much money that's coming to them, no questions asked. So I also want to ask about what is it with other global bodies in cricket, and what are they up to?
I mean, they are all badly run by people that are looking to see how this money is can be used, for personal benefit or for all kinds of nonsense spending or whatever. I mean, Sri Lanka, this is in the early 2000s. Sri Lanka was the example of how you can actually have a modern system. You can have contracts, you can have professional trainers, you can have physical fitness people, and they were ahead of the game as far as compared to even India at the time. And then all this money comes in. I think that the ICC's rules are a little bit slack when it comes to full members. About how this money is going to be spent, what are the returns that you're going to get, what kind of a domestic structure do you have, what is your women's cricket like, for example. That can be actually, they can actually turn the screws on that, which is what, say, countries like, which is what IOC and people like that do. And they say, look, tell us what your women's involvement is in how you're running how are women being involved in your game and so on. So when that's not there, if you're not able to ask questions of them, which they don't, then you have got all this money going through down into large, I think, stadiums or whatever it is, and not paying the players enough, or not, they have CEOs and they've got people like that. But it's the people at the top, if it's government or politically controlled, like it is both in parts of the Indian subcontinent entirely, I think. Then you end up in a situation like this, that suddenly they have no cash, in that sense. Pakistan's ability to survive minus an Indian involvement always being there to save them is great. How they are able to survive, because India doesn't play with them, but they still have their own systems, and they have PSL and whatever. They managed to keep going. It's almost like an example as to how you can actually work like that. You don't need India to come and save you for everything.
I agree. I think in PCBs, one thing that works for PCB is, while they don't have the biggest fan base, they have probably the second biggest fan base in the game, right? And that's probably good for Bangladesh as well. But if we are saying the BCCI should be taking lesser out of the ICC coffer, then we are also indirectly saying then more money goes to these boards, which are also corrupt, but in smaller ways. So what really is the solution? Because, and let's face it, the ICC, like you mentioned, is not IOC, right? We know, for instance, when BCCI put out this announcement that there are 400,000 new tickets, the ICC did not know about it, and they were taken by surprise as well.
I mean, the ICC did
Where
not
did this
know
come from?
The first stadium is going to, the stadium in Lucknow is going to have its, was getting a new pitch. was being relayed. They had no idea
Yeah.
that the pitch
So
was being relayed, and that the first match it was going to be a World Cup match. But is anyone in the ICC going to stand up to them and say that, hello, what is this? You're not going to,
Yeah.
you can't have a World Cup match be your first game and whatever and all, but nothing. So there's been a certain dilution of the quality of leadership in the ICC as well. And that also goes with, so you're looking at a generation of people like Malcolm Speed, who used to
Yes.
literally, Malcolm Speed and Lorgat and all these guys that used to contest, and the
Ehsan
Pakistani
Mani.
Ehsan
Mani. Yeah.
Mani. Yeah. So you have to have people of that caliber that are able to stand up and then ask questions like you do of associate members and whom you give money to directly.
Yeah.
They ask questions of them: where is this money? What is happening? What is your local population demographic playing? What is the thing? You should be able to ask their full members as well, in a way to say, like, explain your money to us. Explain something. Explain your women's game to us. Explain your domestic structure, spending to us. Something of that sort. Because I think in India, you don't need to go out to get money, right? Whereas in the other boards, you probably have to go out and market the game in that sense, and get and get funding and revenues and so on. And to play player, because you're paying players as well. Maybe they need to ask about how players are compensated, things like that, all that kind of thing. I think tighter questions across the board. I mean, the ICC needs to ask the BCCI, what is your player revenue structure, sharing structure like? Tell us what is your percentage?
Yeah.
So, Sharda, I also wanted to ask you, you covered other sports as well, other than cricket, where there wasn't as much money involved.
Yeah.
So, have you found that administrators are basically the same kind of people across sports? It's just that these administrators in the BCCI are armed to the teeth with money, whereas those are not? Or do you find the quality of administration is better in other sports? And if so, which
No, it's same. Same. You will find good quality in sort of like sparks and little bits and pieces. Not everywhere, but you sort of find them everywhere. But sports administrators all around the world tend to be the same. They tend to have the same, and in India particularly, it's that same caliber of sports administration. Whether you gave them money, didn't give them money, it's that the only difference between BCCI and other Indian sports is the money that's there, and the fact that the BCCI have used that in the last 20 years and so on to kind of put people, to kind of have this structure that you can have 1,000 games a season and play the games, and you've got, you're almost on autopilot, everything works. Your domestic structure works and all that. That's what BCCI have been able to put in place. Other sports don't give their athletes enough game time. Not enough matches to play every season. They don't tend to do that.
Yeah. Sure. So when Prashant was talking about like athletes being vulnerable in front of you, I remember this athlete in 2004 Athens who did not do that well, and you told that athlete that don't worry, you're gonna win a gold in Beijing. So just digressing a bit from cricket, but it is too good a story to not mention to our listeners.
Oh, that was just like absolute fluke. So that I don't know. So I had known Abhinav Bindra for about I've known him since 2000. Yeah, so this is 2004, and I went to the games in Athens, and he reached the final in a very bad final, and he was just most depressed, and he came out and whatever, and he was just. I mean, he's a remarkable person because he's in the middle of absolute, the depths of his career. He's still able to make jokes and all that. I mean, his this thing.
So, but still, even that is very unique, Abhinav. He's usually very calm and composed.
Yeah. No. So I asked him, how you do? I said, have you had something to eat? And because you don't know what to say to an athlete whose bottom has just fallen out of his world. You don't know what to tell that person. So you say, have you eaten? So he said, yes, I'm digesting my nines. He quoted a lot of nines in that this thing. So he was saying all those things. And then he said, I'm really fed up. I want to do this thing. And all his relatives and family and all had come, and he was trying to be stoic, and he's spoken very well to them. And he's like, yeah. And then when they left, it was like almost like he was able to speak sort of freely as to how irritated he was, no angry he was, not that. And he said, I'm going to retire. This is rubbish. I said, what rubbish are you talking? You're 100% you're going to win a gold medal in Beijing. I said this without even like thinking, because
Wow.
like for me, what is it to say?
Yeah.
As a journalist, you just say it because you just want the person to feel slightly better at that time. You just want the athlete to not feel so shit. That's it. You're going to win. Yeah, you're going to win gold. And my logic was absolutely clear. You had won. You missed the final in Sydney by 1 point. You made the final in Athens. So in Beijing, 100% you're going to win medal. And I just made it gold. What's the difference? Aim for the moon type of a thing. And I forgot about it. And he remembered. And he told me that later. And I said, shit, I remember I had told you that. And I completely forgot. Until he reminded me, I forgot about it. And he said that you told me that day, he said, I never forgot. So it's like, okay. Yeah. So I mean, to any and all journalists, I say that at an athlete's bad time, the time there is to be kind, is to sort of be sort of gentle with them and take it easy. It's that, they're going through like real shit. So let's not this thing, and you never know what will happen. That was just like the best story ever. That he remembered. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I have one more sort of stream of thought. So there is a sense of karma in Indian cricket. Okay. So if we were to look back at Indian cricket in the last, let's say, decade and a bit, the biggest high was 2011, obviously, the World Cup final. 5 days after that final ended, the next IPL began. The players were put through the ringer, and we know what happened in the following year, right? Cricket karma came back and bit them in the backside. Now, if I look in the more recent past, the last big high that the Indian cricket team had was when they won that Oval Test match in England to take a lead, a 2-1 lead in that series, right?
Yeah.
And on the eve of the 5th Test, which never happened, we heard some stories about COVID in the camp, whatever, and the team was shipped back home.
Yeah.
Broadly to go back and play the IPL because everyone was getting a bit jittery about the opening reverse fixture or the opening fixture of the second of the IPL, which was a big game, and they wanted all the stars back. Ever since then, Indian cricket has accomplished jack shit broadly, right? They've been. So what I want to ask you is, and maybe because journalists don't have access anymore or don't want to say it as it is, what exactly happened in those days? Why did that test match get cancelled? Because from the outside.
You're asking absolutely the wrong person. Like, I have no idea. And even I was just saying, seriously, everyone is trying to convince you that it is, no, it is COVID. I absolutely do not believe it for a second. I mean, I'm saying this based on nothing, right?
Same here. Yeah.
But in the middle of it, we won in Australia, boss.
No, that was afterwards. Sorry, that was before. Australia was before that.
That was Jan 21 was Australia.
That was Jan 21. This was June 21.
Post 21. Sorry.
Yeah. This was the end. The Oval Test match is the last high point in Indian cricket. There has not been a high since then.
Yeah.
Even the Test series win against Australia was one of the most lamest sort of victories. Australia also didn't seem to care about. India didn't particularly play well in that series also. Yeah. Right? I'm talking about the one at home. I'm saying since then. Since then, we have not actually had a high point in Indian cricket. We have not. And we've got battered in the World T20.
I would just think that it's the demand of the fact that your IPL has gotten bigger and gotten more important and gotten to be priority for everybody, not just the players, but for the boards, the people that are running the game. For all of them.
By the way, within days after that, Virat Kohli's captaincy tenure came to an end. And soon after that, Ravi Shastri's coaching tenure. And I have always, and I've told this group multiple times as well, I believe that all of this is connected. Because there was not a single statement from Kohli in the press or anything when the Indian team was asked to return from England before the 5th. And Ravi Shastri, of course, they said was in the bubble because he had contracted COVID or whatever. So, but Kohli, as the captain, he was still the captain at that time, not having, anything to say to the press or the media about the team suddenly being shipped back home ahead of a 5th test. It's unprecedented, right? It's never happened.
It's ridiculous. And you have basically, and also it's another sign of the arrogance of BCCI. We can change the plan the way we like. What will you do? We will take the team back and go. and you do a ticket cancellation. If you have money, ask us, we'll give you money to pay. That, I mean, that's kind of that's their
No, no.
approach. We can
No,
do
no. 10
anything.
minutes before the match, they'd ask ECB, who asked you to sell tickets in advance? You should have started the ticket sales now after the toss
Now,
happens. Look.
and said, come and do online and then collect physical ticket. No, that is
Yeah.
how we do it.
From day 4, you
No.
can start watching the test match.
Yeah, no, and the other thing I was going to say about this is that about the fact that they came back in a way that was just, it was
Yeah.
ridiculous as to how it was allowed. I
It
don't know
was.
who. I mean, honestly, I have no extra knowledge about
Here
this.
I was hoping to get like,
If you
insider
had
scoop.
told me, I would have done some jasusi and found out. Yeah,
Arey, Sharda.
told me, I would have looked.
That you should
Yeah.
anyway do, by the way. That can be your next Caravan piece on
That's
India's Indian cricket's karma cycle and
No,
what
I
happened.
think no, but
Yeah.
your karma thing seems to be working. It looks like it has
Sadly.
it says something. No, it's like
Ah.
that. It's true. It's true. No matter what,
Yeah.
that with all the riches and the wealth and whatever, I mean, it's outrageous how we behaved. It's ridiculous.
Bilkul.
And then no one and nobody said anything.
Nobody said it.
Everyone
That's the thing.
reason for Tuesday was that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then they say, why are you the one that's getting hysterical? Why are you jumping up and down like a mad person? Stop it. You're the only one. Why do you care?
Yeah.
Really bad. Really bad. And it makes there is so much that is joyous and fun about Indian cricket. But all that you hear about it is stuff like this, that from the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Nitin, you were mentioning that people will not question BCCI. So, I'll tell you, like in 2011, the entire fan experience was very, very different. Like the tickets came out like a year in advance. Everyone got the tickets because they came out in June. Yeah. So they came out in June. Then the semis and finals had to come out through a lucky draw. And then they came out through a lucky draw, and then a lot of people got those tickets. So you knew that fans are getting those tickets. If you did not get through, you'd be like, okay, it's just a matter of luck that we are a big country, so you didn't get through. But I remember that fans were, and also there was one thing which will sound very surprising given how the recent ticketing experience has been. The India-England match was supposed to be in Calcutta, which later shifted to Bangalore. And then the fans also had a chance that you can take a refund or you can get this tickets transferred to Chinnaswamy, which sounds really unreal in this times of MasterCard, but it did happen. But I still remember in all that good process, there were two fallouts of this. There was police which lathi charged fans in Bangalore one day before the match. And also for finals, some 5 lakh people had logged in at Kyazunga and the site had crashed, which is a very normal thing. And I remember the ICC legal person had made a big noise around it. They said that our sponsors are distressed. This is something which is not cool. Something like this doesn't happen now. And we are sitting in India and we just had an Indian perspective. I'll bring in a point of view of fans from Swami Army, who are the Indian fans in Australia. They came to India. They applied for the World Cup. They got the tickets, but then they did not get a physical ticket till like the World Cup was starting on 19th Feb. And the Swami Army founder, he kept writing to Kyazunga, BCCI, ICC, everyone, when am I getting the ticket? When am I getting the ticket? I'm leaving Australia in Jan. And then he missed out on that deadline. When he came to India, he went to the Delhi office. So then they said that, listen, we can't do anything right now. What we can do at best is you can go to the venues and collect the tickets. And then he also knew an Australian, and in Bangalore one day before the match, 40,000 capacity, there were more people. It was just quite a nightmare. So that, believe me or not, is still way better than 2016 or 2023, because now no one will say a word. There you still had some noise that was happening.
Yeah.
Why will no one say a word, Vipul? What is the right answer to that question?
Nobody's saying, Sharda, what to do. Only you and Monga have written about this. So actually, lots of journals have. But
and Monga's written that beautiful line that how powerful you must be when you know that even if you don't do anything, the fans will still come.
Even if you don't build it, they will come.
Sad.
I had a question based on the Caravan piece. So one thing that struck me was that maybe Indian cricketers, or you were hinting that Indian cricketers were maybe not utilizing their player power to the maximum, or they weren't realizing the extent of their player power in the way that, say, Pat Cummins can come out and say that XYZ sponsor is, is not, it doesn't keep with his values or whatever. I cannot imagine that happening in India, where you would have Rohit or Virat coming out and saying that, Dream 11 is, I don't, I think that this promotes gambling or anything like that. So do you think that there is maybe a hint of a solution in that observation, in the sense that if the players realize their true value and the fact that they're not being fairly compensated, as the IPL has grown, in your article, you've shown how the IPL has grown exponentially, but players' payouts have grown only linearly. So do you think maybe the solution lies there?
I think two things. This is just this thing. I think if any one player is able to take the BCCI to court and say, you cannot stop me from going to play in a league elsewhere. That's one thing. I don't know whether this is just a complete fictional scenario, because as we know, it's very difficult for it to happen in real life. And says that you can't stop me because it is restraint of trade. You can't stop me from doing it. Or the power of collective bargaining in that sense. Because at the moment, the Indian Cricketers Association is just is former players. You've got like 1,000 people that are there, and more than those 1,000 people, it's the top sort of, say, 25, 30 players that are there, that if they understand how to collectively bargain, who knows? But I mean, it's just a theoretical assumption that I'm making here. That this is the way that you can possibly, this is what they actually don't want to happen. The BCCI does not want this to happen, because once you get the power of collective bargaining of these 30, 40 people on behalf of about 1,000, they'll have to change
that'll change things.
That'll change things. But
which, by the way, which was like the big move that Indian players made, right, in this regard. I remember when under Kumble, what I was saying was the last time the Indian players did this sort of collective bargaining was when Kumble, etc., was still playing, and they came together, put up a united front, and got those contracts done. You literally would need something of that sort to happen again, right? Where players who have recently retired, maybe, who have least to sort of lose.
That NOC is what? That cooling off. Like you will not do cooling off period for your tenures. Players have to do cooling off period. What the hell? And the other thing is that I was just thinking, like, the Saudi League. The Saudi League came and just offered insane amounts of money to people. Insane. And they all tootled off and said, we're going. What are you going to do? But they said they won't, because it's whatever. They're afraid. Whatever. There's so many
golden ticket nahi milega fir baad mein.
Golden ticket nahi milega. But the whole thing of this golden ticket is, the cooling off is like, it's like, they don't even get how tone deaf are they, that they think that they have the right to tell players that even if you have retired, now you sit for 2 years and do nothing, and then you go and play. It's rubbish. It's nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that who is that? Ambati Raidu, retired, unretired. He did what? Some Ambati Raidu. Why?
In the end, he came back also. He didn't play that league fully. He came.
Especially when for an athlete, your tenure is very limited, then it's all the more.
Exactly.
2 years is a lifetime when you're that old. When you've reached the stage of retirement, 2 years is a long time. It's paid.
So since
it's like they think that they own them, that they actually own they are their property.
Since you mentioned golden ticket, right? My mind immediately went to that photograph of the golden ticket and who was giving it out. Did you see that meme, Sharda, online of the World Cup mascots, which have very nicely slicked, very artificial looking slicked hair and glasses? Somebody did a bit of Photoshop and made it look like the. You haven't seen the mascots?
I saw the cricketovers things, whatever.
That only. So there's a little bit of the mascot, the male version of the mascot reminded people of somebody, right? The fact that it had that slick, very artificial looking hair, it had glasses on. So somebody did a bit of Photoshop and made it look like someone, running cricket, basically. And it just fits perfectly. If you haven't seen that, I'll send it to you later. But what I was
Please.
going for was this one, right? So Indian cricket has this extremely strange love-hate relationship now with Pakistan cricket, right? We don't want their players in the IPL. That's very clear. And, we continue to extend pariah status to them. But meanwhile, we are also like bending over backwards to ensure that every tournament has multiple India v Pak games, the global tournaments. So much so that the Asia Cup, as we know right now, has come up with a reserve day for the league game, after which all the boards
Only
put out
match.
only one match, after which all the boards, by the way, from their Twitter handles, within minutes of each other, put out the same tweet in slightly different, with slightly different sort of wording. Seemed like the source of that tweet again was that one powerful person who runs everything. But also for the World Cup, right? Bending over backwards to make sure that that match gets, prime positioning and everything. So, what exactly is Indian cricket's deal with Pakistani cricket now, and what is the next stage? Will these guys ever, will they ever tour Pakistan? Will they ever play outside of global tournaments? What is
I think like you're saying, it's a very strange relationship that's there. It's almost like at this point, like in the Asia Cup, they're just literally the ACC, which is basically / the BCCI, is trying to batter the Pakistanis because they can bash them up. There's no other this thing, that's why we'll have it Sri Lanka, we'll have it where it's raining, we'll have it like that. And now they've come back to the thing because broadcasters have come and said to them, sir, आप जो भी point score कर रहे हो उनके साथ, लेकिन हमारा we need to make some money out of this. So therefore, so that's the thing. Another thing I'll tell you, this is exclusive on your podcast starting. It's not come public anywhere. So this chap, the chairman of the IPL, Arun Dhumal, also formerly treasurer, brother of Anurag Thakur, sports minister, came to the Pakistan PCB box because he's a very good friend of the CEO of PCB. And he was sitting and chatting with him. This is in Candy. You're sitting and chatting with him, generally very friendly. And of course, when Indians and Pakistanis meet, it's like they are like brethren, and there's all hugging, juppy, and great and fantastic and whatever. All that is going on. In 15 minutes, he starts getting calls and he starts getting messages and he starts saying, what are you doing there? Come back. What are you doing there?
Dhumal ho gaye.
Dhumal ho gaye. So Nitin, you have like now absolutely gold medal, gold medal.
Not
golden ticket chahiye.
Golden ticket. So he had to leave. He left in 15 minutes because he could not be seen chatting with this thing. So there's this sort of this thing that goes. And then he's seen in the BCCI box with Indian national flag painted on his face, just in case, his loyalty was
really.
Seriously,
he came back and painted his face.
Yeah, I don't know whether he came back and painted his face, but the next time
it wasn't there
it,
when he went.
Go and
Sahi hai yaar.
Correct. It was not there. Yeah. So anyway, this is excuse me. So this is the sort of relationship that it is, that you're trying to sort of twist their arm the whole time, and you don't want their players to play. You don't want them to play in any league in the world only. You're telling Indian franchises that are buying teams in other countries that please don't sign Pakistani players. But you want to be part of this golden ticket is now in our head. This golden ticket sort of exchange at every ICC tournament. Why can't they play the WCT, WTC? Because it's an ICC event. Go and play in Dubai. Go play in Sri Lanka test match. It's an ICC event to play. It's not a bilateral. Do it.
Yes, they will. Yeah, true.
But people don't have that kind of bigness of thought. They don't have that this thing. You know the story about that. Why didn't it's the ACC's event, right? The PCB are hosting it. They're having a dinner or had a dinner. The dinner where tamatar.
They hosted only dinner with tamatar salad.
They hosted dinner. So why isn't the president of the ACC there in this big event? He should be there. It's the ACC event. Not there. Yeah.
No, like we were saying, didn't get the trophy.
Didn't give the trophy last time when Sri Lanka won. You remember who gave the trophy? The president of Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan cricket. He was there. This guy didn't give the trophy. I don't know what's going on.
Motera mein ye hone wali hai na, after 40 overs of the chase in the World Cup final. when Pakistan are about to win the game, it's going to become very clear that Pakistan are going to win the World Cup final. We imagine that the Modis and the Shahs of the world would make a beeline for the exit, while Tamatar will stay back to hand over the trophy and be a part of history once again.
He's vice president. He's Forrest Gump. He's vice
Yes.
president of
Yeah. Cool.
Seriously, yeah. Joke.
I
Seriously,
guess
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And because those matches are such fun, and because it's such a great sort of event, and because the fans are like dying to watch the other team play. So I went to see that match. I have a friend here in Bangalore. She said, I've never seen Pakistan and India play live anywhere. And so we went to see this match in this thing. She said, I'll never get to see everyone in 2 matches in Bangalore, Australia and New Zealand. And
Australia, Pakistan.
And... So people here are dying to go and see it. They said, we'll never get a chance to see Baba. We'll never get a chance to see Shine. This is my...
Okay.
Just normal coughing.
Yeah,
so they're saying we'll never get a chance to see these players play.
Yeah.
So they're dying to see it.
Yeah.
But you won't allow it.
Yeah, you won't allow
and
it.
I'm saying you don't have to make a political statement, but at least try and play something, at least try and push this, broaden it, extend it a little bit, something, whatever.
Very good. Yeah. I guess we could keep this going forever, but I think we have taken a lot of your time already, Sharda. So any final questions, guys? Either of you?
No, good.
Anyway, while he fixes that, I have one light question for you, Sharda. So this again comes from one of our
Actually, remember this question? You remember this happened in 2019. So somebody asked, the whole who should play number 4 for India, who should play number 4 for India. Remember someone asked that thing?
Yeah.
I remember saying at that time it was something on. It was audio or it was video or something like that. They said, of course, it's so obvious. Sachin Tendulkar should play number 4 for India. People got so angry. They were so irritated. They said, what is wrong with you? What do you think? This is some stupid question. And we're stuck in the same discussion.
Yeah.
Who should be number 4 for India?
Yeah. And in fact, if you go 4 years before that, 2015 World Cup also, Raina was suddenly pitchforked to number 4 because nobody else was there. The number 4 has been a problem for India in one-day cricket for a while now. Maybe a karma cycle. Bada karma cycle.
I like your karma cycle thing. Huh? Damn interesting. I will.
I have a question for you. This is from Abhishek Chopra, known as Chopper Nose on Twitter. Sharda, how does it feel to know? That Sachin and Kambli scored big runs as boys while playing for a school named after you?
It never struck me, honestly. That is a class question, I have to say. That is a complete dusra type of question. It's fantastic. Full marks. Full marks.
Well done. Chopper Nose will be very happy to know. I think Vipul is still not able to hear us. He is messaging me directly. So he just wanted to say, Sharda, and I think this is on behalf of all of us. I think we can close the pod now because it's almost time. PDP, anything else you want to say?
No, it's just such a pleasure and an honor to speak to you. You're one of my favorite writers.
No, thank you so much, but please don't say honor. I just love chatting to people.
No. So
No,
so there are these phrases that you use, and I'm just going to gush shamelessly here. One is acid in the groundwater. In this one, I'm never forgetting that. And then there's this book that you wrote about the 2011 World Cup. Correct. So I finished that basically on one flight. And you used
it's probably shorter than is it shorter than the piece, than the Caravan piece?
I don't you should only check. But there also you used one phrase which I never forgot. It is you described it as the metallic taste of defeat. Like, I don't even know how you do this, man, but these phrases just stick in my head.
Thanks so much. There's nothing more flattering there for anyone who writes to be told this, to be quoted back to you. It is so flattering, I can't tell you. Like, I'll have the best day now. I have not to do anything. Yeah, no, thanks so much. Thanks so much. Thank you
Amazing,
so much.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that people read and they note these things. I'm like so grateful that
Yeah,
people
we
read.
still exist. We still exist. Yeah, some of
Prashant.
us.
Thank
We still read. Yeah. So, Sharda, earlier you mentioned a quote from Bishan Singh Bedi. You said the only things that matter in cricket are runs and wickets. So, I'm going to conflate that with another Bishan Singh Bedi quote, which is that line is optional, but length is mandatory, which you could say about Sharda's long form writing as well.
But by the way, that was Prasanna. I don't think that was.
Okay. Hey, don't let. Yeah, okay. Whatever. Okay. Bedi's friend.
Don't let facts spoil the story.
No, fair, fair.
Facts have to be a
Especially
good
on this
story.
podcast. On this podcast,
Yeah,
last time we just were looking at a completely made up fact we found on Twitter, and then we were sort of, discussing that for about 10 minutes. So, yeah, we do that kind of stuff. But yeah, Sharda, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Yeah,
Thank you.
I won't gush more than
Fun to
all of us already
chat
have.
with you.
But
Yeah, fun to
this
chat
was great
Nitin,
fun.
once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Great
much.
fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And like Sharda, please keep listening to the Bits and Pieces podcast so that, now that Sharda's listening to it and you know that Sharda's listening to it, please listen to it and let your friends also know that this is a podcast that Sharda Ugra listens to. Until next time, this is Nitin Sundar on behalf of Sharda, Prashant, and Vipul signing off. See you.